Hello! I wanted to take you guys along with me today as I did an undersketch for one of my oil paintings. The weather's been really crazy here in the Midwest recently, but I think spring is finally upon us and we don't have to worry about random snow or ice anymore. So we got to paint outside today, which was just absolutely wonderful. There's a bunch of little seedling plants that we've been growing and got to paint in the middle of them. It was absolutely wonderful. So happy. I have been using Holbein's Duo oil paints because I can do that. Just mix them with water instead of using solution to clean them up or anything like that. I don't have to deal with as many chemicals. I really love them. I had a art instructor introduce me to them years ago, and nothing else has really hit the same level of goodness as these. They have great color saturation and super easy cleanup, and I love the fact that I'm not exposing myself to as many chemicals. So I'm starting out right here with a burnt umber that I'm going to use throughout the whole process of doing the sketch, and I'm going to water it down just a little bit, and I'll use a fairly thin down version of that for my sketch. And for those of you who don't know me, this is my face. Hi guys, my name's Madeline Choi. So I have a photo reference next to my easel, a picture pulled up on my laptop. I like using my photo references off of my laptop just for the fact that I can zoom them in and focus on the part of the picture that I really like. I don't go digital for much of my art, but I love the aspect of having that there with that capacity. So you'll see me glancing off to the side or comparing my ratios. And that's just off the screen of a computer that's set right next to my easel. So this is going to be a painting of a little family. They're all bunched together. The dad and mom in the middle and the little kids right around them. So might not be distinguishable at first, but I'm kind of blocking in the heads right now, and just making sure everything's the right ratio. I find that as long as I get the blocking in done correctly for the base layer, colors are super easy after that. I struggled a lot with colors when I originally started doing my oil painting, just because trying to figure out so many things at once, like shading and shape and size ratio, all of that combined was a little stressful for me. So I just take it one step at a time, get each initial one right before moving on to the next one. This one is a bit more difficult than anything I've challenged myself to before. I have done portraits. And I'm fairly happy with how they've turned out. But this one is going to have 5 people in that, and that is something I've never done. So we'll see how it turns out in the end. I'm not super picky with what brushes I use during this phase. I do have favorite brushes I use for other things, but this right here, just because it doesn't matter quite as much how much paint I'm putting down or how it's sticking or anything like that. I just grab a random little brush that I have to the side and go with that. You can see my black brushes lined up on the side though, and those are my Rosemary & Co brushes, and I absolutely love them. I've had those for 3 years, I think, and they're basically the only thing that I do oil painting with. I'll put some links down in the description below for the rosemary brushes, and I'll see what else I can pull up. I think I have one for my post-shade box, which I absolutely love. It's just about the only easel that I actually use, even if I'm not doing plein air painting. I'll use it indoors, just set it on top of my desk. I like the fact that it has the palette right there in the box and everything's just right there. I can have my brushes rested on it. It's super great. Absolutely love it. So anyways, I'll put that stuff down below and you can check it out. I'm not sure how long this painting is going to take me just because of how many independent people there are in it. I can't really create a good guesstimate based off of that, not knowing how it multiplies, having never done this before. Usually I would say I could do a person in 1 hour. I don't know if this will take 5 hours or if it'll just take me 2, so we'll see. I know that the sketch is definitely going to take me longer, and the reference photo that I'm using is a picture of some friends of mine, so I definitely think I'll be a lot more picky about it when I get around to painting it and deciding when it's done. It might be one of those ones that I never think is done. I didn't end up being particularly happy with how some of the ratios on the faces had turned out, so I plotted one of the faces out and started over again after I had pulled up my reference picture again and zoomed it back in. I do mess around with my sketching a lot before letting it dry and painting over it, just so that my sketching will be a really good reference for where I want my colors to go later. That way there's not a lot of frustration when I've created the right color but got it in the wrong spot and just end up creating a muddy color because I've had to work it over and over again. Almost my whole art career has been self-taught. I did take a couple classes several years ago, but it wasn't very extensive. So everything that I've done has been not even in a sense self-taught of researching and teaching myself that way, but just more of a trial and error, trying things out, seeing what works and what doesn't. So I lack a lot of the technical details that an artist generally would know, which I think would be fun to study in the future, just to get a concept of having it memorized in my mind what the ratios and structure of a human head, per se, normally is. Would be really helpful, because what I already know, the standard, like, well, eyes are generally halfway down depending on the age, and then you divide the head in thirds this direction, and all of those things have been really helpful to me, to be able to sketch a realistic head with an understanding of the concept without measuring. And so I think just like each of those things learning them would build on top of each other and make the art process itself a lot faster without having to learn them myself through trial and error and just, getting a knack for what it is. So someday soon, hopefully I'll get some books on that and study up on that. But honestly, it's a lot more fun to be making art than just the reading about it part. So that's always getting bumped back, waiting for some future day. I should really just have them like on my nightstand for a rainy day sometime. I'm going to kind of brush in some of the pleats in her dress right here, but not fully do that. I find that itself is easier because it's not the human form. The human form needs to be very specific, whereas the draping of fabric doesn't need to be quite as technically correct. And measuring that out right now isn't something that I spend quite as much time on. Especially since there's not that much gathering or pulling of the fabric on the dress that she's wearing. Also, you can see the plants disappearing. That's because they're getting planted in the garden right now. So hopefully soon we will have lots of greens and tasty fresh salads. That's one of my favorite things about summer. All of the produce tastes so good. Like, a store-bought tomato cannot rival a homegrown tomato in any way. They are two completely different creatures. I love the fresh produce. Well, that's all, guys. Thank you for joining me in the process of making this underpainting sketch. I hope there was something in the process that you found that can help you as you're making your own, or just some, plant joy. I'm excited to see if I'll be able to conquer a finished piece with 5 people in it. So there might be future updates. Anyways, I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.